Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast, where we explore your hidden thoughts and desires, revealing your greatest drop the mic moments. Now, here's your host, Art Costello.
Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast. Today, my guest is Cynthia Zhai. She's a voice coach, speaker, and an author. She helps business professionals and professional speakers from many different countries, actually 46 across 5 continents. She helps them learn to speak with impact, conviction, inspiring, engaging people to embrace change and take action, which you all know is very big with me, taking action. Cynthia has been a professional speaking coach for the past 17 years, taught across many continents, 4 to be exact. U.S., she's been in the U.S., Finland, Netherlands, Argentina, Malaysia, Philippines, Vietnam. Cynthia has appeared on Singapore radio 4 times, Hong Kong Radio 3, Malaysia Business Radio several times, and a guest speaker on voice subject in many countries around the world. It is with my great pleasure that I introduce you to Cynthia Zhai. Welcome, Cynthia, to the show. It's great to have you. I'm excited. We're 13 hours apart, so it's 6 o'clock in the morning in Austin, Texas, and 7 p.m. in Singapore.
Yes.
So this is great. Can you tell us your story? What has made you the spectacular person that you've become?
Okay, I think it's a lot of struggles along the way, a lot of challenges along the way as well. But I think that's the purpose that we are on this life, right? So if we don't encounter any challenges, any difficulties, then what's the point of living?
That is very true. That is very true.
Yeah.
The challenges are what make us grow. That's where our growth comes from.
Yes, that's right.
So tell us about some of those challenges.
So I think one of them, of course, that it would be when I started my business. So I've been doing my business for about 10 years. And in the beginning, it was a struggle because as someone who is new to the country, even though that I had lived in Singapore for 2 years prior to starting my business, but I had not so many connections and I had not so many friends. So it was very challenging to start my business. And also at many times, many points that I had thought about giving up and I had thought about probably going back to the corporate world. In the end, it is the dream that I have, always thinking about doing something on my own, using my own talent to help other people. So that's something that kept me going. And also to have met a lot of people that also inspired me to continue on this journey.
Do you think that, because my area of expertise is in expectations, and a lot of times I'm asked, what's the difference between an expectation and a goal or a dream? And really, there's very little difference. But when you have that dream and that goal, and then you match it with a core expectation, it really can get you through every single challenge and keep you motivated and directed towards what you want out of life. And that's why I think it's so important for people to identify what they want. Because once you identify what you want, then you can start taking the steps to go get it.
That's right.
Is that kind of how it worked for you?
Yes, definitely. Because, I was someone who was always knowing of what I don't want. So in my early years, I was keep on looking for what is it that I want, but I didn't know. So I only knew what I didn't want. So it was also a lot of journey that to help me realize what I really want. And once I got clear on what I want, so that's where I started to really chase after what I want.
That's really beautiful, because when you can identify what you don't want, it gets you one step closer to what you do want. People may not understand that, but a lot of people have no idea what they do want and what they don't want. So they're just kind of in limbo, but when you know and identify what you don't want, it becomes easier to find what you do want.
Yes, in a way. And what also helped me was Charlie Tremendous Jones. He was saying that you're the same person 5 years from now, except 2 things: the books you read and the people you met. So it was really those 2 things that helped me to crystallize what I want. and knowing what I didn't want. But at the same time, I started to meet different people. I went to different associations, groups to meet different people. And from meeting different people and the books that I read, I realized that, I really enjoy helping people, supporting people. So those two things that helps me in the end crystallize what I want.
Do you think you're a shy person?
I was. I was shy and introverted.
It takes a lot of work to break out of the shell of introversion and shyness. And you've done very well because you glow now. I don't know if my audience can see you, but I see you and I see the glow around you.
Thank you.
But two of the things that you said that really resonated with me were that you were instructed to gain knowledge from books. And I did that when I was young. We didn't have TV or anything where I lived. So my parents had a pretty nice library in our home that I could go in and read different books. What did you like to read? What was your favorite books to read?
When I was young, I liked to read biographies. I wanted to know how other people live their lives. I wanted to know that how they made themselves who they are. And I got a lot of inspirations from those biographies.
I love that. I love that because I liked biographies too. I was very diverse in my reading. I loved history, was favorite, but also one of my favorite books was The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is a book about dreaming and about living outside of your existence, what you are. My childhood was pretty painful for me, so I wanted to escape, and I used books to escape. So did you use books to escape, or did you use it mostly for knowledge?
Yeah, for me, it was mostly for knowledge. Even though, my dad was quite a difficult person to deal with. But in general, I still had a good childhood. So I didn't have a tough childhood. So that's why I think the books for me were mainly for me to gain knowledge.
The need to have closure in any given situation is sheer human nature. And when it comes to romantic relationships, this desire skyrockets. Has your previously failed relationship left you in immense pain? It's not uncommon for people to shy away from a new relationship after their first one fails miserably. The fear of the unknown makes them hide in a shell to prevent any future heartbreak. Relatable? Despite wanting to love and be loved, you can't take the plunge if your mind and heart are still locked somewhere in the past. Maybe you aren't aware of the power of releasing the past, or perhaps you don't know how to do it. Art Costello in his online course teaches the art of moving on from bad places to happier, more stable ones. This course can change your life for good, helping you beat all kinds of negativity on the road to eternal bliss. Sign up now before the gloominess gets the better of you at expectationacademy.com.
Did you grow up with a lot of structure in your life? It was like, this is what you're supposed to do. You go to school, you do this, you do this.
Yes, because my dad was a very structured person. Before college, he was arranging almost everything. He was dominant. But I think the good thing was once we went to college, my dad said, now I'm not going to give you instructions anymore. Now this is your life. Go and make your own decisions.
Was your dad raised in Singapore?
No, my dad was raised in China.
In China?
Yes.
Because I know that the Asian culture is very, very structured and they're very big in education. And having been in Vietnam in the 60s, in the early 60s, I helped a little girl that was in an orphanage there that I had met after we had come off a patrol one night. And I sent home for money so I could send her to school in Da Nang and helped her. I thought that I was giving her probably the greatest gift that I could give her, was education, because education and knowledge can catapult you into so many areas. But I know in the Asian culture, it's very structured in a lot of ways. I grew up in a household where there was no structure, no direction. My parents didn't have any expectations of me. They didn't put any discipline in me. So I went in the Marine Corps at 17 to get that structure and discipline. How did you identify it that you wanted something different, that you knew that there was something different for you?
So I think for me, my expectation for myself, I think since young, was always that I wanted to develop all the talent that I have. Either the talent I can see or the talent that I cannot see. So that's why I do everything. I learn everything. And I'm always learning new things and trying to develop another area of myself. The thing from there that I knew that I can do something well, and not only do well, but also maybe become very good at one area.
I just got goosebumps. Because really that is what I preach all the time to people. If you're not trying and doing things, you're never going to know what your purpose is going to be in life, what really was meant for you, because we can go many years. I was in my 60s before I ever realized what God's purpose was for me, what the purpose in life was, But once you find it, it makes your life so much happier, warmer. I mean, so many different things happen when you do that.
Yes.
So it's a great thing. It's really, really great. And it's great that you have the intuition to be able to identify it and follow through on creating it.
Yeah.
So the other question I had for you, not question, but the other thing that I noticed was you talk about not only knowledge, but people.
Yes.
Engaging and communicating with people.
Yeah, that's right.
How did you get to the point where you gained enough knowledge that you could teach other people how to speak and how to do all these communication skills? It's my belief that communication is the key to relationships, to everything in our life. When we can communicate with people, doesn't matter what color, what their culture is, what anything, when we can communicate effectively, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah. So I think for me, even though I still am an introvert, but now I'm a much more outgoing and happy introvert. So even though I was an introvert much more introverted when I was young, but I always like to build relationships with people. And whenever I'm with people, I always see what can I learn from this person. And so I think from that point on that I started to, in a way, I was able to build relationship with people. And from learning from people, one of the things, for example, when I was joining different groups, joining different associations, so I discovered a group where there are a lot of trainers there. And I thought, okay, these are the trainers. And I learned many things from them. I said, I can do this as well. So from the people that I've met, I've started to try out different things. And also in the end, found out that I enjoy teaching. I enjoy supporting people because I like to develop my own talent. So I enjoy supporting other people to develop their talent because I've learned in voice and I was in singing when I was young. I also did some radio in college. So that's where I started to get very interested in voice. But never did I think about using this as a career until that when I was in my last job, which was we were training our own employees on communication. So that's where people started to ask me about voice. And I thought, oh, okay, looks like this is something that people are looking for. From there, I also learned from many different teachers. And that's where I set up my own structure, my own program. And when I decided to do something on my own business, and voice was the area that I thought about.
Can you tell us about your business? I'd like to hear how, what it entails and what you do. And I really admire that you've been to many different countries, because I think that travel is really big. When you see other cultures and see how other people live, it really adds to your knowledge base. So can you tell us about your business and what it entails and what you do and who you do it with?
Okay. So I help people, many professionals from all over the world, speak with a more powerful voice so that they can be heard, be respected, and also be recognized whenever they speak as the expert in the room.
That's really a necessary skill to have.
Yes.
If you're in the business world, but even so, more so in just everyday communication.
Yes.
My mom used to say something. She used to have a saying. It kind of went like, be careful how you speak because it affects what you speak. It was some anything like that. But my mother always wanted us to speak correctly, not to have an accent, just be more comprehensible. She was just big on it. She just thought that the better you could communicate, the further you could go in life. And I think there's a truth in that.
Yes.
The better we communicate with people, the further we do go in life. And I think you're living proof of it. And by the way, I heard you sing last night.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you find a new career.
Yeah, I used to perform in schools.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Tell us about that. Where did you physically grow up? Was it in Singapore or was it in China?
Yes, it was in China.
In China? Where in China?
Well, it's a city near Beijing called Tianjin.
Tianjin?
Yes. Wow, your pronunciation is very good.
I'd love to go to China. Tell us about growing up, your childhood, how many brothers and sisters you had, or what it was like, because our audience I don't think that we hear enough about the people, how they grew up and lived and what their parents expected of them and how their life went. I think it would be very interesting to hear this.
Yes. I like this idea that you want to hear people from those countries, because when we see it on TV, there are so many prejudices and so many, in a way, wrong perceptions. Mm-hmm. And for me, because I was born after the open door policy, the Chinese open door policy, we were having quite a open and good life in a way. And I am the second of the three daughters. So I have three girls, because my parents, now as many Asian parents and probably also especially Chinese parents, that they wanted to have boys. They tried 3 times, didn't succeed.
I have 4 granddaughters.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But now in the Chinese families, especially in the big cities like Shanghai, Beijing, people actually like to have girls, because for girls, the parents will spend less money when they get married.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Here, girls are more expensive.
Yeah. And my dad, he was very strict. He was also very critical. He is very structured. And I think part of it because he was in the military.
Oh.
Yes. So he was always having very high expectations on us. Mm-hmm. And because he wanted to have a boy and he didn't have, so he always told us, he said, if boys can do that, you can do it too.
That's good. Yeah. He was before his time.
Yeah. So that's why, in a way, we were raised as boys. We have short hairs and we climb trees.
Here we would say you were a tomboy. They call it a tomboy.
But he is a visionary. My dad was a visionary. Even when I was in primary 1, because at my time, you don't learn English until I think it was primary 3 or 5. But my dad, somehow, he realized the importance of English. So he actually signed up for us to learn English class. Oh. Yeah, that was even before in schools, the English was taught at my level. So
that's an interesting fact because, our perception, Americans of China, was that you were very backward in culture. Because of the communist dominance, they didn't want you to learn English and stuff like that. And I wouldn't have thought you would have the ability to actually go out and learn it.
Yeah. And also, that was in the late 80s. My dad was already realized the importance of learning English. My dad, at his time, he learned Russian. So he didn't learn English. But then later on in his job, he realized the importance of English. So he actually taught himself simple English.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think my dad, even though that he's very short-tempered and he's very critical, but I have respect for my dad in a lot of other areas. So he is really a visionary. Even though, he asked us to learn English at a very young age. But when I went to college, he doesn't agree for me to learn English as a major because he said English is only a tool. Everyone can speak English. And then when you go out to the society, you don't have a real skill. you can only speak English. That's not a skill. So he actually didn't ask us to use English as a major. And that's why you see now people even have this kind of earphones or robots, right? Mm-hmm. The robots, they can do simultaneous translation. So that means that if your major was English, then your job now is being replaced by the robot. So when I think about that, I thought, oh, actually, thanks to my dad.
Yeah, technology is changing the world. I mean, it really is. In some ways, it's good, and in some ways, it's not. Because we lose some of the beauty of our cultures when we become so technical that we're almost like melded all together. We're one human race. But then the beauty of that is we have a greater understanding of each other. So how do you weigh the two against each other? Because I love experiencing other cultures. And I don't mean as a tourist. I like going and really learning what people's lives are like that in different countries. I think I learn more from that than anything else that I do.
Yes.
Because I'm a big people person. And I'm certainly not an introvert. I've always been a person that just makes friends easily, just goes out. I can talk to anybody and have fun and enjoy, because I have the same philosophy that you do. I have something to learn from every single person that I meet. They have something to teach me. And there's a beauty in that, because I don't care who you are or where you come from. We do not know it all. We like to think we do, but we don't. Meeting and being able to interact with other people is it's a big thing. I mean, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah. And also that really brings me joy. The joy of meeting people from different cultures and learn that the way they are living. So that is really a joy for me.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
What did your sisters do now?
That my elder sister, you probably won't get surprised. Both of them, my elder sisters, they teach English in schools.
That's good. I love that.
My father's impact.
Yeah.
So my elder sister still teaches English in high school. My younger sister, she used to teach English. And then later on, she wanted to get into the society more. So she went into sales.
Has anyone ever inspired you to discover a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled you? It is a magical experience, isn't it? Inspiration is indeed very powerful, yet it's often undermined. It can lift you from the ground to the sky in no time. Have you ever thought about returning the favor by inspiring the people around you? If you don't think you have it in you, we have good news for you. Art Costello's online course has everything you need to learn to supercharge yourself and shape your character into a powerful personality. Get ready to discover your strengths and unleash the creativity within. Don't believe it? Check it out yourself by signing up for this life-changing course at expectationacademy.com. That's expectationacademy.com.
My daughter-in-law, I have a son that lives in Boulder, Colorado, and she travels to China probably once every couple months because of her work. And she's in the sales end of manufacturing, and their products are manufactured in China. How many different languages do you speak?
Oh, there are so many dialects because I'm from the north. If I go to Shanghai, in the beginning, I couldn't understand what they're saying because they are speaking their dialect. And then until today, if I go to like Canton or Guangdong province, the very southern part of China, they speak Cantonese. So I still couldn't understand Cantonese. There are so many.
Do you speak other than, your dialect in Chinese? Do you speak any Spanish or French or anything like that?
Oh, I'm learning French. When I was in college, I used to learn a little bit German because the French class was all occupied. Too many people learning French. So I thought, okay, I'll go to German class. So I learned a little bit German, half a year, but forgot about everything. And now the more I travel, especially travel to Europe and doing some work in Europe, and I feel that after listening to so many European languages, personally, I feel that French is beautiful. So I'm learning French now.
Yeah, I actually in college had 2 semesters of French. If you don't practice it, it leaves you. You forget it. I mean, I can remember some words, you know. And when I was in Vietnam, you know, because in Vietnam, they speak a lot of French because of the French occupation. So, you know, it was good to have a little bit of knowledge of it. But I think that here in the United States, I think one of the languages that Americans need to learn is Spanish because, you know, we have such a growing population of Spanish people and they're not assimilating into the American culture. They're keeping their own culture and specifically living in Texas because we're so close to Mexico. One of the things that I see is in school in my granddaughter's 5th grade class, they have so many kids that still only speak Spanish. And our education system is really challenged right now to taking care of both sides of the equation of that.
That's right. So I remember a friend of mine, she lived in Texas, and she is from Mexico when she was about 3 years old, I think. She actually sends her daughter to a ESL school, English as Second Language school.
Yes.
I remember when I heard that, I was quite surprised. So now that you said about it, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. It's a big deal. You know, and then now in our country, we're having a big conversation about, you know, should people be here? Should they be able to immigrate here and not and all that thing? But that's another whole political thing that I don't want to get. I'll let the politicians deal with that. I care about people.
Yes.
And that's what's important to me. Speaking English, how do you think that has helped you connect to people?
First of all, I think I need to thank Singapore. I am grateful to Singapore because Singapore is such an international platform. It's a very international city. So English here is the first language. And because English is the first language in Singapore, so it helps me to reach people from all over the world. And also that speaking English was helping me to be able to communicate with people from really around the world. Because I think it's still, English is something that even unofficially people use as a language to do business, to communicate. So because of that, I was able to also speak in different continents.
Yeah, and it gets us back to the communication thing. You know, when you learn different languages that are not native to you, I think it helps you meld into that particular culture easy. Like if I spoke Mandarin or, you know, Cantonese and I went to China, it would be I think the Chinese people would be more accepting of me when I can speak their language and understand it. And I think that's one of the things here that we're having a little bit of difficulty with as Americans. A lot of the people that come across from Mexico don't want to really learn English. They keep speaking Spanish. So it's kind of like a war of the languages, you know, of what's going to come. Because a lot of people outside of Texas don't realize what it's like to live in Texas. You know, we're becoming the minority now here, and it's very different and it's very hard for people to accept. So, you know, it gets difficult. I think that when you embrace challenges and you learn how to maneuver through them and you're willing to communicate and accept and stand strong on the things that you believe in, you know, it makes for a better world. And we're becoming smaller. The world is actually becoming smaller because of the internet.
Yes.
I mean, I would not be having this conversation with you.
Yeah. I have a trainer friend, a speaker friend as well. So he went to India and then from Singapore. In his audience, someone asked him, "Do you know Cynthia?" And then my friend was very surprised. They said, "How did you know Cynthia?" He said, "Oh, I saw her on YouTube."
That's great. Isn't that beautiful that somebody in India knows Cynthia who knew somebody that was speaking there? I mean, yes. That's a great thing, you know? So,
yeah, my friend was very surprised.
I would be surprised, you know? I mean, the population of all the people. Do you know Cynthia? You know, I mean, it's crazy. So What do you think the most important thing in learning voice is? What do you think the most important thing to really digest? And
most people came to me for improving their voice for the use of business, be it speak with more confidence in meetings, in presentations, or use their voice to inspire and motivate their audience. But if we put all these aside, put these business kind of things aside, what I really believe in, that learning about voice is a way of making yourself more whole. Because of all these stress, all these kind of things that we experience in the society, all these negative things, that they have a direct impact in the body. And the direct impact on the body also has a direct impact on the voice. So everyone actually is living, if they have never trained on their voice, everyone is walking, living every day in their life with a half-used body, half-used voice. So when we can develop the voice, which is a full voice, you become more whole. So that's actually the best part about developing the voice.
Wow, I never even thought of that, but it's true when you think about it, because when you talk to people who are anxiety-ridden or fearful, their voice is different. That's how and I mean, in my profession, of talking to people and understanding, psychology and therapy and all of these things, we listen to voice a lot and pick up. Our intuition comes from how they're speaking and all that. I guess maybe I thought about it, but I never put it as much credence on it as I do now when you said that, because it really does make a difference.
Yes.
When somebody's uptight, I'm always so relaxed. When I talk to people, everybody's my friend. So I just, I don't get uptight. I may stutter and stammer when I'm trying to think of things, but I'm always comfortable about it. I don't worry about making a fool of myself because I've done it so often that I guess I just accept it as part of me. But,
Now that you talk about it, I was just talking to my family, my sisters yesterday. I said, I feel like I am Mr. Bean at times. The silly behaviors that he had, I feel that sometimes I have all of those silly behaviors that he had.
Well, you probably do. I mean, we pick up people that influence us. That's why on the internet now, you got to be careful about who you choose as your influencer, because you really do start to assimilate some of their mannerisms, their speech patterns. I mean, all kinds of things,
I don't assimilate Mr. Bean, but I think because at times I am reckless. So that's why my behavior, I behave at times like Mr. Bean. Like what you were saying just now, I think is something that we should not be concerned about too much, our kind of the silly behaviors, because that's part of who we are.
Yeah, well, most people live in that space of fear, and they're afraid they'll embarrass themselves, or they'll embarrass their family, or say something that is not going to be accepted by people, and they don't do it. And I don't mean that we shouldn't have filters, because we need to be cognizant of what we say and how we speak. And I would never want to say anything that would ever hurt anybody intentionally, So I think I try to pick and choose my words carefully, but still in the space of being free. When you were living in China, did you ever feel like you couldn't speak your voice? You couldn't be your true self? I mean, because of the political spectrum and all that?
That really depends on individuals. Because for me, I am not someone who is outspoken about things in the society. So at least 12 years ago, when I was still living there, so I was not someone who was very outspoken about society issues. So if you are not someone who is having that character, then it doesn't matter, because you can actually speak freely in many areas.
That's another thing, that living here and not living there and not experiencing it. We have this thing of Tiananmen Square, a man standing in front of a tank and he's going to get run over because he spoke his voice and all that, which brings me to a point about voice and communication. Oftentimes, it's how we say things and when we say things that matter more than actually what we say. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What are your feelings on that about in communicating?
I was just writing a post and also an article on my blog. And the title of my blog article was, "Your content is only as powerful as the way your voice delivers it." Because many of my clients, they are the expert. They have a lot of expertise. They have a lot of content. But when they speak, the voice does not deliver that, does not convey that. So that's why when they speak, even though they were the expert, but they never had any reaction from people. So which made them very frustrated. Some of them, they were very angry. They said, "What's wrong with these people? They didn't react to what I said."
Don't know which direction you want your life to take? Are you sinking deep down into the pit of uncertainties day by day? So, what's the secret to leading a happy, satisfied life? It's taking matters into your own hands. But what if the matters in question are a total blur? Art Costello's Expectation Academy course aims to tell you exactly how you can get some clarity in your life. This course can be your savior on your journey to reinventing yourself. While you certainly can't plan your whole future ahead, you can definitely control twists and turns your life takes. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for this course now at expectationacademy.com. Get a chance to broaden your horizons and add meaning to your life. That's expectationacademy.com.
I'm going to ask you for some advice. I'm going to get real personal.
Okay.
I can speak to people face to face. I can speak to large groups, but you put me in front of a camera, my mind goes all over the place. I mean, it just, any advice for me, for people that I hate using the word can't, because I can, and I always can, but I just get frustrated. I let the camera frustrate me, but yet I can sit here and talk to you through this Zoom and watch you. And if I didn't see your face, it would become more difficult for me to talk to you because I wouldn't have the connection.
Yes. So I think that's the root of this issue, because when I work with my clients, we actually go to the root of the problem. So for you, because you are a people person, so if you see the camera, you don't see person there. So that's why it drives you, in a way, it drives you nuts. So for you, that's actually, from what I'm hearing, that's the real issue. So when you are in front of the camera, probably, you can put someone there, maybe just have one person in front of the camera. Or even if you don't have a person, this is going to be kind of also some fun thing to do. You can print out someone's photo or a group of people's photo, put there, and then imagining yourself speaking to them.
Well, if you see me on the internet printing a photo of you out, then it's because I'm thinking of you telling me this.
Okay. Whatever will help.
Yeah, it's funny how our brain works with things, because I've actually spoken on an airplane where people wanted to know what I had done or what I do. And we started talking, and then pretty soon it was not just 3 people, it was 5 people. Then it was 10 people. And, pretty soon half of the airplane was really interested in what I was saying. And I had no problem with it.
Yes.
Till somebody raises up a camera and goes,
you want to see beyond that camera.
Yeah. So it's really funny how our brain works, And I'm not fearful. It doesn't strike fear in me. It just, my brain works, I think, different. My brain is connected to people. And the most important thing to me is relationships with people and things. Money doesn't matter. Really, none of that really matters to me. It's about the connection that I have with people and what I can learn from them and what they can teach me. And that's, to me, is the beauty of life. That's what living is about. And I'm really honored that you teach people to communicate, because it's such an important part of not only business, but life, living,
Yes, that's right.
I deal with a lot of people that have a lot of problems communicating their feelings to their spouses, to their children, and all that. When you think about that, that's very sad, because that's the most important thing, is being able to not only nurture those relationships, but your children are going to pick up those traits, and they're going to perpetuate it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What do you think about the internet and communicating? Because it's become a whole different way now with the internet, with Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all these platforms that in some ways have given people voice, but in other ways has taken other people's voice away.
So I think it's really how we use it, because there are people, they have the cyberbully problem. So they would think, oh, no one can know who I am. Then they would bully people on the internet. So that's actually the bad use of internet. But I think the purpose of those who actually invented the internet in the first place is to bring people closer, bring people together. I think in some ways that I did, because we can find our primary school classmates through the internet. We can form a group communicating with those people. I still have a group with my high school classmates. So we are actually communicating almost on a weekly basis. I think when we put the internet into good use, it does bring people closer.
Yeah, I think it's about communication and knowledge, the transference of knowledge. That is a good thing when it's used right. But as all things in life, there's people who want to do not good things or bad things. And, we just have to outnumber them and bring to rise into the forefront in our communication.
So I think that's why, Facebook, I think not long ago, it started to have this to close down some of the account who always posting posts on hate speeches.
Mm-hmm.
So actually they deleted some of those accounts for posting hate speech.
Yeah, and here it becomes a challenge because of free speech and, does somebody have the right? But I think in humanity, no one has the right to degrade somebody else or bully them or push them around in any way. So, we use it for good purposes and all that.
Yeah.
So, a few more questions. We're getting pretty close to almost being here an hour. It goes so fast. What have you got coming up? What are you doing right now as far as your business? You coming to the United States soon or anything like that?
I'll be in San Francisco in September. So I'll be speaking at a global sound healing conference. So I'll be talking about the healing through the power of the voice, the human voice. So like what I talked about just now, the voice, when we don't focus on the business side, it is to help us become more whole. So that's something that I'll be doing in the States in September.
I'm going to be in San Diego in September. September 18th through the 22nd, we have a conference in San Diego.
Okay, so the conference in San Francisco is 20th to 23rd.
Oh, wow.
I'll be speaking on 23rd.
We're going to have to stay in contact because maybe we can actually meet. That would be great.
Maybe we'll meet halfway there.
Yeah. How long are you going to be here?
So I'll probably be there for about a week. I have some clients there as well, so I'll be meeting them.
In San Francisco?
Yes.
Yes, that's a multicultural city. I love San Francisco.
Yeah.
I love going there and visiting because it's so multicultural and friendly. There's a lot of friendly people there. Have you been to Texas yet?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet? It's a very friendly state. It really is. It's becoming, over the past 15 years, it has really become a melding pot of different cultures and stuff. So that's really neat, to see that happening. A lot of people don't like it, but it's a good thing, anytime we learn more. So anything else coming up?
And then November, I'll be in Spain. So I'll be speaking at a conference in Spain. And it'll be my second time to Spain. And I love Europe. So I think after that, I'll be touring around in Europe.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So do you get back to mainland China very often?
Not very often. I think about maybe once a year during the Chinese New Year.
Do you still have family in China?
Yes, I have relatives. Yeah,
that's good.
And sometimes some of the companies in Singapore, they will send me to Shanghai to do some workshops. So that's another opportunity where I'll be visiting.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, where can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about voice? And I encourage everybody to really do that because I think Cynthia has a lot of skill in teaching people to speak and do it with authority and with inspiration. So where can people find out about you?
Sure. So they can find about me in two places. One is that, as I mentioned, the YouTube channel. So I have about 23,000 subscribers, and they can just go to YouTube and Google a search voice coach Cynthia. Then they will find my channel. And the second way that they can get a hold of my teaching is to go to a 3-day crash course that I did focusing on the voice, where I take them step by step to know that what they can develop, where the challenges are. So in that 3-day crash course, they can find it in bit.ly/voice crash course.
That is great. I want to thank you for spending this time with me and my audience. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Anything we can do to help you, feel free to just let us know how we can help you, and we'll do that. And
thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it's been a pleasure, and I really enjoy you, and I can tell that you're authentic and you're really passionate about what you do, and it's so important for people to learn how to communicate. So yeah, it's great.
I think it's been a pleasure talking with you as well.
Yeah. Well, we learn a lot from each other. I think we can learn a lot from each other, and that's a good thing. So, well, with that being said, we're going to end it up today. So again, thank you, Cynthia. I really appreciate you being on. Everything that Cynthia has told us about where to get a hold of her will be in the show notes. All of her links to YouTube and her social media and all that will be in there. And you all know where you can find me at expectationtherapy.com and expectationacademy.com, where you can get my online course. So with that being said, thank you much, audience.
Thanks for listening to the show. Drop us your comments and questions with what you want answered on the show. You can subscribe on iTunes and Binge Network. You can also get more information on the website, expectationtherapy.com.